Hi guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a simple jumping game in Scratch. So I have all the code set, and what I was going to do was I was going to review the pieces of code to basically show how you would build up this game. So how this game works right now is you need to use spacebar to jump over these beach balls that come flying at you. And that is really all there is to the game. Your score changes every time you touch the ground without touching the ball. And there is a high score variable to keep count of all of the high scores people get. So I'll be going over the code and sprites that I've chosen. So first, to start off with the sprites, I chose the Ben sprite in the sprite library, and I also had a beach ball sprite, and I had my own custom sprite, which is the press green flag to try again. And I have my custom stage. I have my stage that I chose from the backdrop library, and the one I used was baseball 1. Because that was the only one that actually kind of fit the theme from the game I was making. So let's start with the Ben sprite. So when the green flag is clicked, what I did was I would switch the Ben's costume to Ben D, which is what it's labeled in the costumes. Ben D, which is the standing costume. And then I would make it go to X negative 156, Y negative 73, which is where where Ben starts, and pretty much won't move from much at all. Now this is basically just when Ben actually touches a ball. When the green flag is clicked, I set the game loop over here, but I am going to be replacing it over here. But what it does is set score, which is your player score, to 0, and it'll set this JIC, short for just in case variable, to 0. And I would switch the and yeah. And then in this sprite, in this code, it's supposed to detect when Ben touches a ball. So when green flag clicked, wait until touching beach ball or touching beach ball 2. Now, I originally had 2 beach ball sprites, but seeing how complicated the code was for a seemingly simple addition was, I just didn't go with it because it was really hard to control. Then, as soon as it does touch the beach ball, it'll broadcast a custom message called done, and it'll set just in case to 1, and it'll stop all. Now is what the broadcast is just making sure that the game completely stops. So in the Ben sprite, the only when I receive is when I receive done. If it does receive done, then forever it'll check if the player's score is greater than the high score. And you can see this cloud icon right beside it. That's because it is a cloud variable. Cloud variables are something that you could use if your if your tag is scratcher. If you're a new scratcher, then you won't be able to use cloud variables. but all it takes is about like 2 weeks to become a scratcher. You'll see an invite in your messages. So if the score is greater than high score, then it'll set high score to score. Oh, and just to explain what a cloud variable is, a cloud variable is something that'll be saved in the Scratch servers, because most of the time, if I set it to like some regular variable's high score, then it'll set back to what it originally was. So it would be set back to 12. So let's say someone else got 24. As soon as I press the green flag again, it's set back to 12. So a cloud variable stores the data in it in Scratch servers, so it doesn't actually change when you press the green flag. So if it is greater than high score, then it'll set the high score to what the current score is. If else, it'll set high score to high score, just in case. And these two blocks were something I used to help with the jumping mechanic, which I am leaping into right now. So what it does right now, so no, 1 second, let me just clean up blocks. So when the space key is pressed, it'll repeat 15 times. First, it'll switch the costume to Ben C, which is the jumping costume. And by the way, I did actually mess around with the original Ben C costume, because it never looked like this, but I kind of messed around with it so it looked like he was actually holding his hands up in the air. So it'll switch the Ben's costume to Ben C, and it'll change Y by 10, meaning it's going to change the Y a total of 150 pixels. Then this is where the time fraction variable comes in. Because I realized the ball that kept on coming around was a bit too fast for Ben to jump over, so I had these little testing blocks up. I found a perfect number, 1.89. So whenever I click this, it's gonna either multiply itself by 1.89, but if I click this, it's gonna divide itself by 1.89. So basically, it's changing the weight, but right now they're not built into any scripts. I just put them as testing. Then it does almost the exact same thing it does over here. It switches costume back to Ben D, and it changes Y by -10, pushing it right back down by 150 pixels again. And now, this is a little thing that requires a lot of code, but the reason I built this in was because somehow, even in the game over screen, you could still gain score. If just in case equals 1, or just in case is greater than 1, or just in case is greater than 0, then change score by 0. If else, then if just in case equals 0, or just in case is less than 1, then change score by 1. If else, absolutely do nothing, because there are no other outcomes that would be going on, because I've covered almost every outcome that could be possible. Now off to the beach ball sprite. Just some specific pieces of code. When the green flag clicked, forever, it'll hide itself, it'll wait 1 second, it'll show itself, and it'll go to X 236, Y -100. 111. Now, you may see this crazy amount of numbers, but the reason I put this crazy amount was because I needed to find the right amount of time the ball would take to get to the other side. But it's not really large, it's just 2.72. Yeah, there's a lot. So that's how many seconds it'll take to glide towards negative 236, y negative 111. The game over has almost the same thing as in the bend sprite. So first, when the green flag is clicked, it'll just hide itself. When I receive done, which was a broadcast in the bend sprite over here, so when it receives done forever, it'll check if just in case equals 1, or it's greater than 1, or it's greater than 0, which is the same jumble of code I put in this if statement. And if so, it'll show itself. If else, then it'll check if just in case equals 0, or just in case is less than 1, which is also the same jumble of code we put in here. So if that's so, then it'll hide itself. But if none of those are put into, like if none of those actually are happening, if something else is happening to the just in case variable, then it just simply hides itself. So there's like no unwanted glitches. And just the backdrop, there's nothing in it. I just chose this backdrop to make the background look nice. So that is basically all there is to this tiny little project. I really hope you liked it. And if you did like this video, please do like and subscribe because it doesn't take much time and I do really appreciate it. And I will be making more customizations to this project, like for the fact it just abruptly stops itself when Ben touches a ball. I'm gonna make like an actual game over menu, maybe even a start menu, stuff like that. But for now, that's all for the video. See ya.